we didn't even find a positive story to talk about this week, Brent. So we'll have to do better next week. But on the flip side of the Grinder story,
Yeah.
I would say equally abhorrent is this story where it basically says data broker is selling location data of people who visit abortion clinics. And the worst is the subheading says it costs just $160 to get a week's worth of data on where people who visited Planned Parenthood came from and where they went afterwards. Um, $160 is not a lot of money. And let's go back to our friend Safegraph, who is also part of the story, naturally. So these guys were involved in both the CDC thing and this abortion clinic thing. Overall, not very good. I mean, maybe Safegraph, we got to do a deep dive on these folks and figure out just how bad they are. But maybe they're even up in our Hall of Shame with Clearview at this point, because
Oh,
they're not
wow.
really doing anything too hot here.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just, I mean, I would say equally bad, if not worse than the Grinder story, because the information shouldn't be being shared like that. I guess, I mean, I would say probably in their, I wouldn't call it defense, but in their line of reasoning is you basically can set any kind of venue. Let's say you had a store, a restaurant, and you wanted to track users who came and left from your restaurant, and buy that data would make sense. But and maybe you want to do that for your competitors. So I'm sure there's some reason that people will just plug in an address of a Planned Parenthood location and get it that way. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe certain things should be like blocked out, or certain sensitive areas shouldn't be allowed to be tracked that way. Who knows? But you could see the business reasoning where like that wasn't really what we meant to do. It's not like we really had like a Planned Parenthood filter or something like that. But it's just the way people use the system. But maybe that's not a good enough excuse. Maybe people need to do a better job at kind of limiting certain pieces of information that are meant to be what should all be private, but should be even considered more sensitive, right?
Yeah. I mean, we talk a lot about how data is being thrown around and bought all over the place. When it comes to this, like you said, such sensitive data and personal data, I mean, me buying something off a website, that's personal, but not to the level of this kind of stuff. And so when you see, once again, you know, government organizations going to these companies uh, with getting data and how these companies are getting the data to give it out or sell it, it's even more concerning because you know uh, this Supreme Court decision has ripple effects, and people will leverage the data in ways that could be very harmful to people. um, Even if the intent for some folks to use the data, like you said, is good, there are other folks who are going to use it in ways that are probably not going to be very good for the people who, let's face it, they had certain procedures done hoping that it was going to be done in confidence and that their data is going to be respected, as long as with them being respected, particularly at a very vulnerable time that they had this happen. And here now, all of a sudden, years later, it could come back and haunt them. And then, of course, people who are going through certain things now are is going to be used to prevent them potentially from doing what they want to do or need to do. So this is a very disconcerting kind of story.
Yeah, I mean, digging into the article a little bit more, there's another line that I just kind of popped out to me was Safegraph just classifies Planned Parenthood as a quote brand that can be tracked. And so you can purchase data to more than 600 locations around the US. And, a week's worth of data costs $160, like I said originally. And, it says the motherboard, the website that the article is from, also search Safegraph website for family planning, which returned relevant result of family planning centers that people could then buy data related to. So I stand corrected that that's an actual category of data that people are being allowed to target.